So, how are you going to help me? Tian Yang asked. However, Renshaw merely shook her head and said, slow down. You just arrived. We have plenty of time to talk. Tian Yang frowned and responded coldly, plenty of time. Culez is still imprisoned within the immortal confinement dungeon. We don't know how much time he still has. Renshaw remained calm as she said, he's managed to survive over 50 years inside that place. A few more minutes of delay won't kill him. Moreover, if you were in such a rush, why did you spend the last month taunting the 9 immortal clans instead of helping Culez? She narrowed her eyes at him and continued, what happened to your initial plan of kidnapping an elder? Now the 9 immortal clan is not only aware of your existence but they're actively looking for you. Tian Yang clenched his fists and said, in order to kidnap an elder, I would need to know their identity and location first. For the past month, I have been gathering information on the 9 immortal clans while relieving my anger on them at the same time. As much as I wanted to remain low-key until I rescued Culez, it's not possible. Unlike other families, the identities of those in the higher ranks within the 9 immortal clans remain shrouded in secrecy, hidden from the public eye. It would have been a lot easier if you'd told me where I could find an elder during our last meeting, Tian Yang sighed. I would have told you if I knew, Renshaw said, shaking her head. But even I am not privy to the identities of the elders from the other families. Just as they keep their existence hidden from the public, they conceal it from one another as well. What? How does that make any sense? Tian Yang frowned, clearly unconvinced. Renshaw let out a soft sigh. What do you even know about the 9 immortal clans? While we may appear friendly and cooperative to the outside world, the truth is far from it. The clans are constantly scheming against one another, each seeking an advantage. The elders, in particular, safeguard their family's most sensitive secrets, which is why their identities remain hidden, even from each other. She continued, that said, we're not all enemies, nor are we openly at war with each other. There are moments of cooperation in times of peace, fragile as they may be. For example, my Immortal Sword clan and the Immortal Might clan once shared an alliance of sorts, and my engagement with Culez was merely a means to strengthen that bond. I see, then, does your help include giving me the identity of an elder? Tian Yang asked. Renshaw smiled and said, while there's a good chance the elders know of the immortal confinement dungeon's location, they aren't the only ones. Who else? Tian Yang swallowed nervously. The family heads, of course. Tian Yang immediately rubbed his eyes and sighed, can you stop messing with me? While I know the identity of the family heads, it'd be suicidal to go after them when they're all silver immortals. I may be reckless, but I am not crazy. Renshaw looked at him with a doubtful gaze and said, I wouldn't speak so confidently about that, you're plenty crazy in my eyes, not to mention the rest of the world. Anyway, I am not finished. I can not only guarantee you the immortal confinement dungeon's location but that you'll also be able to enter and leave with Culez without any interference. Despite Renshaw's confident tone, Tian Yang struggled to see how he could possibly accomplish such a feat. He was nowhere near strong enough to contend with the patriarchs, let alone abduct one. Even if, by some miracle, he managed to threaten one of them, the 9 immortal clans would be waiting in ambush for him at the immortal confinement dungeon. Seeing Tian Yang's doubtful face, Renshaw smiled and said, here's the plan. Renshaw proceeded to reveal her grand plan to Tian Yang, who was left utterly speechless by the end. You can't be serious. Why would you even go to such lengths to help me? No, this isn't for me but for Culez. Tian Yang looked at her and asked with a serious face, do you, by any chance, still care about Culez but are too stubborn to admit it? Renshaw frowned and said, are you purposefully trying to make me angry? Because if so, you've successfully done so. If you don't want my help, we can forget about it. It's not that I don't want your help, it's just that, I don't understand why you're helping me. This plan may have almost no risk for me, but it's incredibly risky for you. I just can't see how it'll benefit you. Of course you can't see how it'll benefit me. I have yet to reveal my demands. Renshaw said. His rejection was immediate, firm, and without the slightest hesitation. Seeing Tian Yang's surprised face, Renshaw continued, what? Did you think I was going to help you for free? When there's so much risk involved for me? After a brief silence, Tian Yang finally asked, what are your demands? Renshaw's lips curled into a playful smirk. Become my man. I refuse. His rejection was immediate, firm, and without the slightest hesitation. Renshaw didn't respond right away. Instead, she puffed out her cheeks in mock frustration, attempting to look angry, but all she managed to do was make herself look unintentionally adorable. Fine, I'll settle with just sex. I refuse. How about a kiss on the lips? My answer remains the same. Why? Any logical men wouldn't refuse this demand. Renshaw slammed the table in front of her in frustration. I should be asking you that. What kind of demands are those? I fail to see how they benefit you. As if you'd understand a maiden's heart, she sighed. Can you be more serious? Tian Yang sighed, shaking his head in exasperation. The playful glint in Renshaw's eyes vanished in an instant, replaced by a rare solemnity. The air in the room grew heavier, the shift in her demeanor casting a palpable tension between them. After a brief silence, she finally spoke. Let me follow you. What? A mixture of surprise and puzzlement appeared on Tian Yang's face after he heard Renshaw's demands. You want to follow me? I don't understand. Can you elaborate? Renshaw's expression remained serious as she explained, it's exactly as it sounds. I want to follow you as a traveling partner. Wherever you go, I want to be by your side. Tian Yang only became more puzzled by her explanation and continued to ask, but why would you want to do that? I have my own reasons. For Renshaw to follow him, she would essentially be abandoning her family, her status, and everything she had built until now. Tian Yang couldn't fathom why she would make such a drastic choice. Even if she harbored feelings for him, it was hard to believe that she would cast aside her entire life just for his sake. What if she wants to follow me to uncover Han Zexian's legacy, thinking I've inherited it? Tian Yang wondered. There was also the unsettling possibility that she was acting under the orders of the 9 immortal clans. No matter how sincere she seemed, he couldn't ignore the reality that Renshaw was one of them. Moreover, she was not just any member but a young lady of the 9 immortal clans, someone whose status rivaled even the elders. As much as Tian Yang wanted to trust her, experience had taught him otherwise. He had grown wary of everything and everyone, knowing that trust was a luxury he could no longer afford. However, Renshaw had been nothing but helpful to him thus far, and despite his wariness, he couldn't sense any ill intent from her. Eventually, Tian Yang decided to trust her. Are you sure you want to do this? There's no going back once it's done, Tian Yang said a moment later. Renshaw calmly nodded. I have resolved myself even before I reached out to you. Fine, I'll accept your demand. When do you want to do this? Let's do it tomorrow. For the next few hours, Renshaw and Tian Yang meticulously reviewed their plans, going over every detail multiple times to ensure there were no missteps. Once they were certain everything was in place, Renshaw took her leave, returning home as if nothing had changed. Meanwhile, Tian Yang vanished into the shadows, disappearing to an unknown destination. The following day, Renshaw's mother approached her with a calm yet authoritative tone. We've decided that you'll be engaged to Ling Zan, the 5th eldest young master of the Immortal Spirit clan. Renshaw's expression didn't waver, but deep inside, a chill ran down her spine. She was no stranger to that name. Ling Zan's reputation preceded him, not for his talents or achievements, but for the unsettling rumors that clung to him like a shadow. He was known as a playboy with a particular fetish, one that made even his own family members tremble when mentioned. So our Immortal Sword clan is that desperate for power, huh? Renshaw sighed out loud as she shook her head. Her mother instantly frowned and shouted, don't you dare go there. Am I wrong, though? Although Kulas wasn't to my taste, he's still countless times better than Ling Zan. I bet you regret breaking your engagement with him now, her mother sneered, her voice laced with mockery. You never know what you have until it's gone. Whatever. Renshaw turned on her heels and began walking away, unwilling to entertain the conversation any longer. But before she could take more than a few steps, her mother's sharp voice halted her. Where do you think you're going? The Immortal Spirit clan will be arriving tomorrow. You are forbidden from leaving until they leave. Relax. I won't be going far, she said annoyedly. I just need some fresh air, or are you going to take that away from me too? After leaving the Immortal Sword clan's residence, Renshaw aimlessly wandered through the city, her thoughts tangled in frustration and helplessness. Her usually sharp gaze was unfocused, and every so often, she let out a quiet, defeated sigh. With her striking beauty and renowned reputation, it was impossible for her presence to go unnoticed. Passers-by stole glances, some whispering among themselves, others merely staring in curiosity, wondering why Renshaw looked so distressed. Yet, nobody attempted to talk to her, fearing they might anger her. Several hours later, Renshaw's father furrowed his brows as he noticed her absence. "Where's Renshaw?" "She's walking around the city right now," her mother replied nonchalantly. "Don't worry, I have guards watching over her to ensure she doesn't escape." Her father exhaled sharply, his expression unreadable. "She better not cause trouble. The Immortal Spirit clan will be here tomorrow, and I don't want any unnecessary complications." "She won't," her mother assured him in a confident voice. "She may be stubborn, but she understands the weight of our family's decision." However, just moments later, someone forcefully knocked on the door before entering the room and shouted, "It's an emergency. The young lady has been abducted." "What?" both Renshaw's parents exclaimed in a shocked voice. "What happened? Tell me everything right now," her father roared. "We were following the young lady as instructed by Matriarch Ren, the messenger," one of the guards assigned to shadow Renshaw, reported in a frantic tone. "But," then someone suddenly appeared from the sky, snatched the young lady, and vanished before we could even react. "How is that even possible? Renshaw is a Divine King expert. There's no way she'd be abducted like this," her mother shouted, her voice filled with disbelief. But the kidnapper exuded the presence of a divine emperor, if not divine sovereign. "Don't tell me it's Tian Yang," Renshaw's mother quickly deduced. "But why would he kidnap her? If it were truly him, I'd sooner believe he would have killed her on the spot, just like he did to the others." "But he didn't." Renshaw's father refused to accept it. Before they could dwell further into the situation, the sound of hurried, frantic footsteps echoed through the halls. A guard burst into the room, his face pale with urgency. It's an emergency," he stammered, barely catching his breath. "The young lady has returned home, but she's not alone. She came back with an unknown individual who claims he's holding her hostage and demands to speak with the family head, or he'd kill her." "What?" Renshaw's parents exclaimed. "How did they return so fast? How long has it been since Renshaw was kidnapped?" Renshaw's father turned to look at the first messenger, who hesitated for a moment before responding. "After the young lady was abducted, we sort of panicked and went to search for her. After about an hour, we finally realized we had forgotten to send someone home to notify you. She was abducted an hour ago. You incompetent bastards," Renshaw's father roared. Sometime later, Renshaw's parents went to the courtyard to meet Tian Yang and Renshaw. When Renshaw's parents laid eyes on Renshaw's disheveled state, her torn clothes, messy hair, and bloodied face, their expressions contorted with rage. Her mother gasped, fury and horror flashing in her eyes, while her father's face turned a deep shade of red, his aura surging with uncontrollable wrath. "You bastard!" Patriarch Ren roared, his killing intent filling the area like a tidal wave. "I swear, if you so much as laid a finger on my daughter with your filthy hands." Tian Yang looked at Renshaw's appearance and sneered, "Don't worry, I didn't touch her, at least not in the way you're thinking. However, I had to rough her up before she would start listening to me. Anyway, it's a bit chilly out here. Why don't we go somewhere more private? And what's stopping me from killing you on the spot?" Patriarch Ren responded. Father. Just listen to him. He poisoned me. If you kill him, I am as good as dead." Renshaw suddenly shouted, tears flowing down her face. Tian Yang smiled and said, "You should listen to your daughter. If I don't feed her the antidote every hour, the poison will melt her body from the inside. For the record, she took the previous antidote half an hour ago." "You fiend," her mother shouted. Although Patriarch Ren wanted to kill Tian Yang on the spot, he couldn't let Renshaw die. Thus, he reluctantly led Tian Yang to a private room. "What are your demands?" Patriarch Ren asked Tian Yang as they stood several meters away from each other. "Straight to the point, huh? I like it." Tian Yang smiled. "It's quite simple. In exchange for your daughter's life, I want the location of the Immortal Confinement Dungeon." "What? The Immortal Confinement Dungeon's location? How do you know about that?" Patriarch Ren exclaimed with a surprised face. "Does it matter how I got the information? The only thing that matters right now is whether you're willing to exchange its location for your daughter's life." That information isn't something I can just give you. It's not that simple. Patriarch Ren growled. What do you mean it's not that simple? It's just a prison for those who offended the 9 immortal clans, right? You make it sound like it's a treasure trove. Tian Yang shook his head. What the hell do you know? Patriarch Ren clenched his fists and jaw in frustration. Unbeknownst to Tian Yang at the moment, he had actually hit it right on the nail. The immortal confinement dungeon may function as a prison, but it also serves as a vault for the 9 immortal clans, where many treasures and techniques are stowed away. If it weren't for this, Patriarch Ren wouldn't have hesitated to give Tian Yang its location. Seeing Patriarch Ren hesitate, Tian Yang looked at Ren Sha and sneered in disdain. I guess your parents care about a prison more than your life. Wait, Patriarch Ren suddenly shouted. Why do you want to find the immortal confinement dungeon? He continued. Depending on your reason, I may or may not be able to give you the information, even if you threaten me with my daughter's life. Tian Yang narrowed his eyes and said, so there really is something in there worth more than your own daughter's life. Patriarch Ren didn't answer, but his silence was enough. Tian Yang was taken aback. He hadn't expected this. Neither had Ren Sha, but at this point, there was no turning back. Whatever. I don't care about that. I'm going there for Culas, nothing more, nothing less. Tian Yang revealed his reason for going to the immortal confinement dungeon. Culas. You're doing all of this for Culas. Patriarch Ren instantly became bewildered. You're really Tian Yang. Matriarch Ren muttered in a daze, as they'd only assumed his identity until now. That's right. Now that you know my reason, are you going to tell me or not? If you refuse, I'll not only kill your daughter, but I'll make sure to kill as many people in the Immortal Sword clan as I can, Tian Yang threatened. Do you really think you have that power? You're only a divine sovereign at best. Patriarch Ren sneered. I can kill you faster than you can blink. Tian Yang showed a cold smile before responding. Have you forgotten that I'd spent over 50 years with Han Zexian's legacy? Although I won't be able to kill you, you also won't be able to kill me. Patriarch Ren's expression darkened at the mention of Han Zexian's legacy. He suspected Tian Yang might be bluffing, but the mere possibility that he wasn't was enough to give him pause. Some risks were not worth taking. Since he's only after Culas, I don't have to worry about him stealing the treasures. No, even if he wanted to, he wouldn't be able to open the vault. Patriarch Ren had absolute confidence in the vault's security. What truly worried him wasn't the risk of Tian Yang looting the treasures but the inevitable backlash from the other immortal clans. Revealing the location of the immortal confinement dungeon would bring unfathomable consequences. However, if Ren Sha were to die, the Immortal Sword clan would be just as doomed. Actually, I can just kill him before the others find out, Patriarch Ren suddenly realized. That way, no one will ever know I leaked the location, and I can save Ren Sha at the same time. Fine, I'll tell you the location, he said a moment later. Fine, I'll tell you the location, Patriarch Ren said. But I'll need you to swear on your soul that you will not harm my daughter afterward. Tian Yang sneered, I refuse. Do you think I am stupid or something? How will I know that you won't try to screw me over with a fake location? Don't worry, I can guarantee your daughter's safety, given that you provide me what I need without messing around. Patriarch Ren's eyebrows twitched slightly. Sure enough, he had planned on giving Tian Yang a fake location while ensuring that his daughter would not be harmed. Unfortunately, Tian Yang didn't take the bite. With no other option, he gave Tian Yang the location of the Immortal Confinement Dungeon. The Immortal Confinement Dungeon is located at the 103,444th peak in the Endless Highlands. The Endless Highlands was a vast mountain range stretching over 100,000 miles, its landscape dominated by millions of towering peaks. The Endless Highlands is also home to countless powerful magical beasts with hidden mysteries and untold treasures buried within its depths, drawing adventurers and cultivators eager for fortune and glory. Yet, despite thousands of years of exploration, only a small fraction of its vast expanse has ever been uncovered, leaving much of its secrets still shrouded in the unknown. The Endless Highlands, huh? All right, now release my daughter, Patriarch Ren demanded. Tian Yang laughed out loud. You really think I am stupid, don't you? Sorry, but your daughter is coming to the Immortal Confinement Dungeon with me. Once I recuse Culas safely, I'll hand her over to you. You bastard. Are you walking back on your own words? Patriarch Ren exploded with anger. Huh, my words. I definitely don't recall saying I'd release your daughter the moment you tell me the location. Ren Sha suddenly turned to Tianyang and cursed at him, you hateful son of. Ha! Tianyang interrupted Ren Sha with a powerful slap to her face, shocking her parents. Who gave you the permission to talk, you bitch? You bastard. I'll fucking kill you. Patriarch Ren roared as immense killing intent exploded from his body. He raised his hand to strike. Go ahead. Your daughter will follow soon after. Tianyang proudly lifted his chest high, provoking Patriarch Ren. Patriarch Ren gritted his teeth, trying to control his emotions. I thought so. Anyway, if you have nothing to say, I'd like to leave now. The longer you make this, the longer your daughter will be with me, after all. Get out of here before I can no longer control myself. Tianyang turned to look at Ren Sha and said, let's go. Mother, father, Ren Sha looked at her parents with a reluctant expression, but Tianyang grabbed her by the waist and flew away, treating her like luggage. Damn it all. Patriarch Ren stomped the ground so hard he shook the entire building. What should we do about the Immortal Spirit clan? They'll be here tomorrow. Matriarch Ren asked. We can only delay it until Ren Sha returns. The other immortal clans must not know we've revealed the Immortal Confinement Dungeon's location to Tianyang at all costs. Patriarch Ren promptly reached out to the Immortal Spirit clan. Upon hearing that the meeting had been delayed, they immediately grew suspicious, wondering if the engagement was in jeopardy. However, Patriarch Ren swiftly reassured them, claiming there was no issue because Ren Sha had simply entered enlightenment and could not be disturbed. It was a convenient excuse, one that few would question. A few days later, Tianyang and Ren Sha arrived at the Endless Highlands, but they didn't immediately head to the Immortal Confinement Dungeon. Looks like your plan went smoothly, Tianyang said to Ren Sha. Ren Sha rubbed her cheeks, the area that Tianyang had struck, and complained, I know I told you to hit me, but you didn't hold back at all. Tianyang shrugged and said, if I held back, it wouldn't have been as convincing. Besides, you even took poison in case they questioned it, but they didn't even care. To ensure the deception was flawless, Ren Sha had willingly consumed real poison, one that required an antidote every hour to keep her alive. It was a drastic measure, but it only proved how resolute she was in her decision to sever ties with her family. Relax, I'm just joking. That said, I have never been hit like that before, so it was a first for me. You better take responsibility, Ren Sha said. Tianyang sighed, keep the jokes for after we've recused Kulas. The plan is still in progress, so let's not jinx it by celebrating too early. Shortly after, they stepped into the Endless Highlands, where an ocean of towering mountains extended endlessly toward the horizon. Due to the high frequency of explorers, the mountains within the Endless Highlands had been systematically marked and numbered. The first 10,000 mountains each had individual markers, ensuring easier navigation. However, beyond that point, only every 100th mountain was marked. Upon reaching the 25,000th mountain, markers appeared only every 1,000 mountains, making navigation increasingly difficult. Beyond the 69,000th mountain, no markers existed at all, forcing Tianyang to personally count each mountain they passed. After a few more hours, Tianyang finally reached 103,000, at least somewhere around that number. Do you think the 9 immortal clans marked the Immortal Confinement Dungeon? Tianyang asked. Most likely, but it won't be anything obvious. After flying around for a bit, Tianyang suddenly sensed a lone presence nearby. When he examined the presence with divine sense, he found an individual seated outside a cave entrance, appearing to be cultivating. While it was common to see cultivators meditating alone in quiet places like the Endless Highlands, Tianyang didn't believe this was a mere coincidence. 5th level divine ancestor, huh? He must be the guard of the prison, Tianyang said. Ren Sha confirmed, I recognize him. He's someone from the Immortal Might clan. Someone from the Immortal Might clan, huh? Isn't that Kula's family? Tianyang remarked, his eyes narrowing. Then, with a smirk, he added, you think he'll just let us in without a fight if we ask nicely? His tone hovered between sarcasm and genuine curiosity. Ren Sha shook her head. I doubt it. Kulas may have been the young master of the Immortal Might clan, but that was over 50 years ago. He was exiled, disowned. Even when he held that title, he didn't have many allies within the clan. I doubt anyone would be willing to risk their life for him. You think I should just kill the guard then? I'm worried his death might alert the 9 immortal clans, Tianyong said, as there was a good chance a life tablet tracked the guard's life. Ren Sha pondered for a moment before speaking. It'd be weird if they didn't have a life tablet on him. You know what? I think I have a plan. What are you going to do? Tianyong raised an eyebrow. In response, Ren Sha swallowed an appearance-altering pill and transformed into someone Tianyong was very familiar with, as he'd spoken with her not long ago. Your mother, Tianyong muttered. Ren Sha smiled and nodded, and you're going to play the role of a prisoner. Tianyong immediately understood Ren Sha's plan after hearing this. They were going to sneak him inside as a prisoner. This way, they wouldn't need to kill the guard. That's actually a brilliant plan, Tianyong admitted. I'm glad you agree. Now, let me beat you up a little so it looks more convincing. Ren Sha spoke with a somewhat threatening smile on her face. That's what? Are you going to say you can't do that when I already did it once? Ren Sha frowned, referring to her roughed-up appearance. I didn't even say anything, Tianyong sighed. All right, come at me. Hearing this, Ren Sha cracked her knuckles before giving Tianyong a few good punches in the face. Is this all you got? In that case, let me do it myself. Tianyong suddenly retrieved a sword and began cutting away at his own body, tearing his clothes and staining them with blood. He also bit his own lips until they bled. Did you have to go that far? Ren Sha stared at him with wide eyes. You want it to look as convincing as possible, right? Ren Sha could only nod. Then, Ren Sha retrieved a pair of handcuffs. You even have handcuffs. I doubt you had prepared that in advance for this, so why do you have them? Tianyong had to ask. Oh, these. I am part of the Celestial Sword Sect's disciplinary squad, so I always have them on me in case I need to arrest someone. What? Did you think I have some kind of fetish? Tianyong remained silent. Anyway, these cuffs will block off all spiritual energy and restrict your cultivation, so you'll become immortal the moment you wear them. I'm letting you know in advance so you don't think I'm trying to trick you or anything. Tianyong stared at the handcuffs for a moment before sighing. Well, if this turns out to be a trap, I can't even be mad. You're just that convincing. With that, Tianyong wore the cuffs and immediately felt his strength disappearing. Then, Ren Sha dragged him to the immortal confinement dungeon's entrance. When the guard sensed Tianyong and Ren Sha's presence, he opened his eyes and glared at them with an unwelcoming gaze. However, when he saw Ren Sha's appearance, his eyes widened with surprise, and he quickly stood up. Madam Ren, what brought you here today? I didn't get any message that you were coming, said the guard after bowing to her. That's because I came here as soon as I arrested this man, Ren Sha said. But for Madam Ren to personally bring him here, who is he? He's Tianyong, the one who's been going after the 9 immortal clans. Sorry, but I don't know who that is. I haven't left my post for over 70 years now, said the guard. This crazy bastard killed over 100 members of the 9 immortal clans. Ren Sha shook her head. What? That's ridiculous. That's why I rushed here as soon as we arrested him. The others will arrive to interrogate him later. They're still trying to clean up the mess he created. The guard nodded and proceeded to unlock the formation protecting the immortal confinement dungeon. When Tianyong saw this, he was glad they didn't kill the guard, as he wouldn't have been able to open the formation with his current abilities. When Ren Sha brought Tianyong inside, the guard didn't follow them and remained outside. Meanwhile, Tianyong and Ren Sha were transported to a dark and grim place. So the immortal confinement dungeon exists in its own world, huh? Tianyong thought to himself as he looked around. Matriarch Ren, I didn't know you were visiting today. Another guard approached them shortly after they entered. This was a last-minute decision, she said. I see. Which floor do you want to visit? The floor with that bastard Kulas. What? The lowest floor. The guard turned to look at Tianyong with a surprised face. Only the worst offenders were placed on the lowest floor. If you're curious, you can ask around. He's quite famous. Anyway, I don't have much time. Let's move it. Ren Sha spoke in an authoritative tone, leaving no room for the guard to ponder. I understand. Please, follow me. Ren Sha proceeded to follow the guard while dragging Tianyong by his cuffs. After walking through a dark and narrow passage